On a bright day, two students are walking together when the boy suddenly calls her friend, Onizuka, telling her to look at the girl walking ahead of them. He is barely containing his excitement as he recalls that the girl is a second-year student named Happy and points out how soft her wings look. Onizuka is annoyed when he suddenly says that he wants to touch the girl's wings and tells him to stop. He just ignored her words, determined to fulfill his wish to feel those soft feathers. The overexcited boy is Sawarita, and touching the things around him is his hobby. Onizuka makes another attempt to stop him, saying he can't always touch any different species he meets with. He is slightly offended by her words, as he will ask the girl first before touching her wings, or else he will be a molester. Onizuka shouts that he is not getting her point, but Sawarita just casually says that he will come back soon and then walks away from there. She is extremely irritated by his behavior and the fact that he does not see the different kinds standing right in front of him. She doesn't understand why he doesn't find her unique enough, and it makes her think that he would pay her more attention if she had long horns like her friend Nero-chan. Just then Sawarita comes back, happily telling her how great it was. He finally notices how she is no longer wearing her hat, but when he asks her about it, she just tells him to stay quiet. They both start walking again, and Sawarita mumbles how it is still not time to hold her hand. Confused, Onizuka asks if he said something, to which he just replies that it is nothing. When they both were children, a lot of people used to bully people of different species. Onizuka also became the target of many children when she was young, and once when they were teasing her, Sawarita came to her rescue. She was surprised to see him there, but he stood firmly in front of her, bravely facing the bullies. The boys were not happy that he is taking her side, but Sawarita shouted at them that Onizuka is just a normal child, just like all of them. His attitude scares the boys, as they quickly agree with him and then practically run away from there. Once they are left alone, Sawarita asks her if she is okay, and she assures him that she is fine. She just stares at him with her watery eyes as Sawarita says how he hates those who bully others just because of their different species. He then asks to touch her horns as a reward, and Onizuka agrees to his request without any hesitation. Back in the present, Onizuka is not happy to experience sudden flashbacks from their childhood. She says to Sawarita how her values weren't that strong in childhood, and she was trying to forget what happened. But now it all feels so weird. He mumbles how he forgets how it feels to touch her horns, but Onizuka dismisses him, telling him to touch someone else's horns instead. She is flustered when he suddenly asks if other people's ears will feel as good as hers. Her annoyance quickly returns when he calls her a red Oni girl because of her blushing cheeks. They both go to a nearby cafe where a girl with goat ears is working at the counter. As she takes their order, Onizuka points how he suggested that they come here to study. But now she realizes that he just wanted to see Yajisawa-san. He just admits his true intentions, telling her how soft Yajisawa's hands were when he accidentally grazed her while taking the change. He gets excited as he starts to tell how this is not the only good quality of Yaji, but he is rudely interrupted when Onizuka shouts at him to shut up. Ignoring her warning, he continues how she eats the receipts instantly if anyone refuses to take them. Onizuka tries to dismiss him again when she suddenly realizes what he just said. He also likes other things about her, like the pink snout, but doesn't get a chance to say that as Onizuka asks if he likes her. She is shocked when he admits that he likes her, but when he starts to talk about her ears, she understands that he is not in love with her and just likes her unique attributes. Sighing heavily, she tells her friend that he needs to be more careful about his actions or else he will create serious misunderstandings. Sawarita is clueless about what she is trying to convey, so she explains that he is someone who doesn't judge anyone based on their species. He even has a handsome face and is kind despite being very careless, but he easily chats about all the different species. Sawarita still can't make sense of a single word she's saying, but instead of clarifying, Onizuka, flustered, simply presses the straw into his mouth, forcing him to drink the strawberry frappuccino. The next morning, Sawarita is still fighting sleep when he greets Onizuka, but his eyes quickly open wide when he notices his friend looking different than usual. She wishes him good morning as she carefully looks at his face and is satisfied with his reaction. When she woke up in the morning, she had terrible bed hair, but it gave her the idea to try a new hairstyle. As they both start walking together, she expectantly asks him if he notices something different about her, to which Sawarita replies that he can't see her horns. Onizuka is again reminded of what her friend is obsessed with and then angrily asks if he doesn't see anything else different about her. He nervously murmurs that she can't see anything and asks if she cut her horns. Even though his question is very annoying, it makes her realize how he seems very interested in her. She always thought that Sawarita's obsession with other species didn't include her, but she can tell that it is not the case. She giggles happily, asking if he really wants to see her horns, and adds that she spent a lot of time making this hairstyle. She continues that if he really wants it, she can show it to him, but before she can act on her words, Sawarita gently pushes her hair back, exposing her horns. He is pleased by his actions while Onizuka flushes red at his touch, but she still keeps the same hairstyle all day. Even though Onizuka is well aware that his friend is obsessed with touching unique things, she is still irritated when he starts to talk about how Mishi-san's snake-like hair is so soft. Looking a little sad, she mumbles how he is talking about other girls again, but her attention is quickly diverted when she spots a cat walking by. She kneels to pet the cat, but the little animal instead bites her fingers. Sawarita also sits down beside her, saying how she doesn't understand it, and then starts rubbing the cat's belly, making her instantly purr. He starts talking to the cat while Onizuka stares at him in wonder and comments that since he keeps touching everything, he knows how to do this well. He replies that it is not true and then asks her how she would like to be touched if she were a cat. She thinks about it for a moment, but the images in her mind make her blush. She ignores his question and says that she knows the proper way to touch the cat now. This time she gently raises her hand, keeping her eyes closed, but instead of petting the cat, she accidentally tickles her friend's chin. Her eyes go wide because of the shock as she realizes her mistake. A little confused, Sawarita asked what she was thinking, but she couldn't say anything proper in reply. As they walk toward their class, Onizuka keeps thinking about how she is losing continuously her friend and that she needs to take her revenge somehow. She is startled out of her thoughts when Sawarita suddenly asks her if she wants to knead some tapioca. Onizuka is a little confused by what he said, but looking at the truck, she realizes that it is from a popular chain and orders a deluxe bubble tea for herself. Sawarita orders the same drink, but the vendor tells them that he has only 1 cup left. Sawarita quickly replies that he is awk with just the tapioca balls and will drink the regular tea. After taking their drinks, they move to a nearby bench, and Onizuka mumbles how they will have to share the now. She takes a sip from the drink and then offers it to Sawarita, saying how it will be an indirect kiss. Sawarita puts the straw in his mouth without any hesitation, and Onizuka flushes at his direct actions. The drink suddenly splutters from his mouth and he starts coughing loudly. At Onizuka's scolding, he explains that some tapioca went into his windpipe. She is still blushing about how he drank it without any hesitation, and it feels like he is the one setting the pace for their relationship. She starts patting his back gently to make sure that he is okay, while Sawarita is satisfied that his plan worked. Later, Sawarita is standing in the hallways of school when he hears some boys talking about how they like a specific girl because of her appearance. When he asks them what they are talking about, his friend asks him what type of girls he likes. Another boy comments how they are eager to know his answer because he must like someone with horns. Sawarita is annoyed at them guessing his choice like this and almost shouts that he also likes a girl who has good body proportions. His answer is a surprise to the boys because they always thought he had weird fetishes. Sawarita is offended by their statement and says how his obsession with touching stuff is a completely different thing. He sharply asks if they also get excited by the horns. Stuttering a little, the boy agrees with his statement and then asks, if given the choice, will he prefer to touch horns or breasts? Sawarita is still thinking about his question even when he meets with Onizuka after school ends. He keeps mumbling about how his choice should be horns. Seeing him deep in his thoughts, Onizuka asks if he is thinking about something strange again. His thoughts are diverted by her question as he realizes if it is with Onizuka, it would be everything. She still doesn't understand what is going on with him and only gets more confused when he suddenly asks her to slap him. He doesn't say anything in reply to her because he himself doesn't understand why he is thinking these things. In one of the school bathrooms, a couple of guys are surrounding a small child with goat ears and demanding money from him. He pleads with them to stop, but they ignore him until the door to the bathroom opens with a bang, and Onizuka shouts that she has recorded everything. The older guy rudely asks her who she is, but instead of replying, Onizuka picks him up easily, telling him to not underestimate her because she is still an Oni. Outside the bathroom, Sawarita hears all the commotion and goes inside just in time when the other guy is threatening to hit Onizuka, who is still holding the big guy above her head. Sneaking up behind the guy, Sawarita grabs his neck and uses his secret technique to make the guy go crazy with pleasure. After a few minutes, he releases the guy, telling him to leave or else he will be finished. The bullies quickly run out of the bathroom while Sawarita turns toward his friend, asking her why she is there. Onizuka nervously replies that the situation was troublesome, but she couldn't walk away just like that. Despite her nervousness, Sawarita doesn't scold her, just saying how happy he is that she is safe, and then tells her to call him first if something like that happens again. Instead of Onizuka, the young guy replies to him, saying how it will be great to get his help. The next day, Sawarita is hanging out with a girl in the garden who hesitantly says that she wants to tell him something. Meanwhile, Onizuka is walking toward the garden, thinking about how her friend was showing off by beating those bullies and trying to look down on them, which is very strange, but he still managed it for her. She feels guilty for calling him a weirdo and feels like she needs to thank him quickly. Her determination dies down quickly when she finds Sawarita hugging a girl under the tree. She shouts at him angrily, calling him a pervert and wanting to know what he is doing. Sawarita just simply says how she came at the perfect time and moves aside, exposing the girl, Yuki-san, sitting under the tree. She looks on the verge of crying as she tells Onizuka how she sat here to take a break, but now her roots are stuck to the ground. Sawarita explains that he tried freeing her by pulling her arms, but it was very painful for her, so he tried hugging her, which is what she just saw. Onizuka first scolds him for creating a misunderstanding, and then goes to sit behind the girl to help her. Sawarita mumbles how she is very fast, while Yuki also makes a weak attempt at slowing her down. Onizuka ignores both of them as she pulls Yuki with full force, sending her flying into the air. On their way back home, Sawarita buttons up his coat, mumbling how winter has arrived quickly this year. Onizuka agrees with his statement while rubbing her hands to warm them up. Sawarita comments on how it will get better once they start using coats. Opening her arms, she offers that they can try this if he is really cold, but when Sawarita turns away quickly, she tries to backtrack, saying that it was a joke. Her sentence is left incomplete when she notices Sawarita staring at a girl named Happy's wings. His stare makes Onizuka wish that she had wings too, and she almost shouts at her friend that it is his loss for missing such an offer. Her sentence is interrupted once again when she sees Sawarita smiling brightly as Happy wraps him in her wings. Onizuka shouts how he shouldn't get close to a girl so easily, but Sawarita instead reminds her about the offer she made just a few moments ago. She couldn't argue further as Happy invited her to join them and pulled her into the embrace without waiting for her reply. All three of them are happily huddled together in the wings, not feeling that cold anymore. That day the rain suddenly starts pouring after school ends. Onizuka is extremely worried since she forgot to bring her umbrella. Looking to the side, she finds her friend taking out his umbrella and hopes that he will share it with her. If that happens, she will be the happiest person, but before she can dream about it further, they both notice Yuki casually walking in the rain. When they ask her about it, she replies that she will be okay, and suddenly the leaf on her head grows in size, easily protecting her from rain. Sawarita doesn't waste any moment, as he instantly throws his umbrella on the ground and requests Yuki to let him take shelter under her leaf. He really wants to touch her leaf too, while Onizuka keeps shouting at him for throwing his umbrella like that. Their argument stops as they both start walking under her giant leaf after she assures them that she is happy to help them since they rescued her last time. Onizuka apologizes to Yuki-san on behalf of her friend, which makes Sawarita annoyed with her before they start arguing. Yuki giggles at their antics as she points out that this is similar to them sharing an umbrella. A deep blush coats Onizuka's cheeks as she realizes their situation for the first time. Winters have officially arrived as the first snow finally falls in December, indicating that it is almost time for Christmas. Onizuka is determined to utilize this chance to be closer to Sawarita finally. As they are walking out of school, dressed in warm winter clothes, she asks him if there is any specific place he wants to visit. He replies that he wants to visit the zoo, but Onizuka thinks that the weather is too cold for that. When he points out how the corner is reserved for touching the animals, Onizuka is extremely annoyed by his continuous obsession. She says that she wants to know if there is any warmer place he would like to visit, a place where they can both enjoy themselves. She is happy when he replies that there are a lot of activities to do in the station building. She looks at him excitedly as he tells her how he wants to see the cake shop and boutique, and also wants to meet the workers there. Sawarita suggests that they will go there on Christmas, and Onizuka happily agrees with him. It takes her some minutes to realize that he is inviting her for Christmas, and it only makes her more excited since she wanted to do the same thing. On Christmas Day, Onizuka visits the mall with Saorita while pondering over doing something. Later, when they are sitting in a cafe, she takes out a wrapped box and gives it to Saorita as his Christmas present. She points how he doesn't wear gloves even when it is extremely cold. Saorita is happy to receive the gift, while Onizuka is relieved that he will not touch anyone directly from now on. Saorita then adds that he also has a present for her but is hesitant to give it to her. Onizuka is ecstatic to receive the knitted hat, but he is worried that he will not be able to see her horns anymore. He is also aware that she will be cold without a hat, but Onizuka is only annoyed by his confused rambling, almost shouting at him about how she doesn't care about showing her horns. She wears the hat with a big smile, expressing how she will keep her horns hidden from him, not knowing that her horns create a little bump in the hat, and Saorita is already blushing at the sight of them. Later they are walking outside in the snow, still feeling cold despite wearing the warmer clothes. Onizuka suddenly calls her friend, but when he turns toward her, she quickly says that it is nothing. He just stares at her, confused, as she mumbles his name once again and then calls him Rokuro. He is surprised to hear his first name from her, and seeing his nonchalant replies irritates her, as she thinks he is ruining the mood. He argues that it is nothing weird since they were on a first-name basis in their childhood. Onizuka replies that it means something else now and notices how Saorita is blushing slightly. She realizes that he is embarrassed to hear his first name. Just to annoy him, she starts calling him Rokuro repeatedly and only stops when he suddenly calls her first name, Yomoji. He repeats her full name again, saying that he should also call her by her first name. Onizuka blushes heavily at that and decides that they should stick to calling each other by their last names. On the morning of New Year's Day, they both visit a temple, and as they are walking out, Onizuka comments how the place is packed. She asks her friend what he wishes for, to which he replies that he wishes to touch some horns this year. Onizuka is surprised to hear his wish and asks whose horns he wants to touch. When Saorita replies that it should be obvious, she laughs sheepishly, saying how he is acting strange. If he really wanted to touch her horns, he was someone who would do it without any thought. He replies that it is inappropriate to touch someone suddenly. Onizuka is getting worried at this point, as Saorita says that there is a proper way to do that. She asks if he is sick or something while thinking about how he is definitely talking about her ears. Lately, she senses that their relationship is getting better and admits to her friend how she wishes to be intimate with the person she wants. She adds that she doesn't like people who can't talk directly, and listening to this, Saorita instantly shouts that he wants to touch Oga-san. He is worried that she will have a strong reaction and says how is the only one who he hasn't touched lately. He is shocked when Onizuka gets embarrassed and states that the wish she told him was just a mistake. They finally reach the festival and spot a fortune-selling stand where Yajisawa-san is working. Onizuka recalls that she is the one who eats the slips when people don't need them, and now it looks like she is eating the slips that have bad luck on them. Onizuka is not very bothered by the fortune slips, but when she opens them, she is shocked to see that she has terrible luck. Onizuka is having a breakdown after seeing her fortune, and Saorita is concerned about her reaction until he reads her fortune slips. She is annoyed when she sees the smug smile on her friend's face and ignores him. She goes to the counter. Yajisawa tells them that in case of bad luck, she can redraw another slip because usually this kind of result is because of the person's mind. She then says that she will eat this slip. Saorita is looking at her expectantly when Yajisawa asks if it is okay for her to eat this because Onizuka has great luck in her love life. She is shocked to hear this as Yajisawa tells her to balance her bad luck with her boyfriend's excellent luck. When they are walking back, Saorita asks if she wants to take his slip back home, but she strongly rejects the offer. They are walking on a similar road when Saorita suddenly asks her if she doesn't want to visit the shrine with some other people. She finds his question very rude since she wants to go with him but doesn't want to tell him that. Onizuka discloses to him that her friend Nara-chan invited her, but she will come there with her family, so it will be strange for her to be with them. Onizuka adds that this is why she decided to go with her childhood friend like they do every year. Saorita casually comments that she chose him because there was no one else left for her to go with. Onizuka quickly defends herself, saying that he is taking it the wrong way and that he was trying to irritate her intentionally. When Saorita adds that he is not sure about it, she almost shouts that he is a pretty important person in her life. Onizuka almost turns into a tomato as Saorita expresses that he is a very important person in her life. When Onizuka was 7 years old, she was working in the kitchen when her mother came there and asked her what she was making. Before she can reply, her mother guesses that she is making Valentine's Day chocolate and asks who she will give it to. Onizuka innocently replies that it is a secret. Her mother finds her extremely adorable, while Onizuka asks her if she is making it the right way. Her mother promises to help her if she tells him who this cake is for. She nervously replies that it is for Rokuro-kun, and she wants to give it to him as a thank you for saving her from bullies. When her mother asks if she likes him, she replies that she has no idea about this stuff. Her mother just smiles at her answer while Onizuka tells her how, after he chased those bullies away, she lets him touch her horns as a thank you. She continues how when he touched them, her heartbeat started getting out of control, and her mother almost got a nosebleed from her answer. While thinking about the past, Onizuka can't help but wonder if her mother forgot that there are things that she needs to teach her daughter. In the present, Onizuka makes chocolate for Saorita when she is in middle school and is worried about what his reaction will be. Her mother is standing beside her as Onizuka wants to come up with something unique. Her mother assures her that if she gives this to him, saying that it is heartfelt, he will be very happy. To defend herself, Onizuka quickly says that it is just something that girls do. Her mother simply agrees with her and then asks her about Saorita's choice. She starts rambling about how Saorita likes to touch other people's wings, ears, and stuff like that. She continues that in the past he liked to touch her horns very often. Later, when she goes to the class, she is extremely nervous but gathers the courage to give chocolate to Saorita. He answers that he was waiting to receive the chocolates this year too, but Onizuka is not happy with his casual reaction. She angrily retorts that he should be happy to get chocolate from a girl, and just then notices how he is holding a bag filled with chocolates. He mentions that the whole class made chocolate for each other. Onizuka doesn't back down as she says since he likes to touch unique things, he will like her most because they are chocolate horns. Excited, he announces that he will keep them extremely safe, but it only annoys Onizuka because he should eat them quickly or else they will go back. Now they are in high school and Onizuka gives him Valentine's chocolates as usual. Saorita thanked her for the chocolate, assuring her that he would enjoy them while wondering what kind he got this year. Onizuka wants to tell him that these chocolates represent her true feelings. She is sure that things will change this year because she finally wants to do something she has been avoiding for a while now. Before she can confess her feelings, Saorita gives her a box, saying that he is returning the favor. He thanks her for always bringing chocolates for him and hopes that she will like his gift. Onizuka is surprised at the sudden gift since it is not White Day yet. He replies that it will be a while until the White Day, and by that time this wouldn't be a return gift. She is not sure anymore about confessing her feelings and asks if he is giving this chocolate to her just as a friend. With a soft smile, he replies that it is a return gift and asks her what feelings she wants to talk about. Instead of telling him about her feelings, Onizuka just runs away from there. When they meet again, she suggests that they should get together to study since there is a test coming up next week. She offers that the study place can be one of their houses, while she is secretly hoping to get a better look at her friend's room. Saorita directly comments that he hasn't seen her room for a long time and wants to see how it looks now. Onizuka instantly refuses, saying that her room is very messy. Saorita reminds her how she was the one who said they should go back to either of their places. Onizuka sheepishly replies that she didn't expect he would want to go to her place. She then asks why he doesn't want her to see his place and adds that he must be hiding some adult magazines in there. Saorita casually admits that she is right, startling Onizuka as she thought he would deny it. Trying to make the situation less awkward, Onizuka says that he can keep any stuff he likes because it is her room, but Saorita tells her not to say things like that. He then continues how he really wishes to see her room because the last time he went there was when they were in kindergarten. Since they can't make a decision, Onizuka suggests that they should play rock, paper, scissors. To her disappointment, she loses the game, and it is finalized that Saorita will go to her room. As they planned, Saorita goes to his friend's room for their study session, and Onizuka is really nervous about his presence. She knows that they are just going to study, but she is still feeling flustered because of how their legs are touching. A deep blush coats her cheek as she calls her friend's name, but he instead tells her to just focus on studying. Her laughs suddenly ring out of her room as she calls her friend stupid, while he is confused about what she is trying to do. Outside the room, Onizuka's mother is bringing them some drinks while thinking about how Saorita has come back here after a long time and they are already in high school. She wants to keep an eye on them so they don't do anything stupid. Just as she raises her hand to knock on the door, she hears Yomoji laughing and telling her friend to stop. Her mother panics and opens the door with a bang, shocking both of them. On another regular day, Sawarita confessed to his friend that he is bad at touching different species and thinks he can't do that. His strange words surprised Onizuka, and she was worried that he might have hit his head somewhere. When she looks at her phone, she notices that it is April Fool's Day and realizes that her friend is just trying to fool her. She looks at the two students walking ahead of them and says to Sawarita that he must want to touch the tail of that cat. Sawarita stays strong on his statement, insisting that he doesn't want to do it. Onizuka tells him to not be so harsh with himself. Before he can reply, they notice the students walking ahead of them holding each other's hands. Onizuka comments that they must be in a relationship, but Sawarita doesn't agree with her. She is confused since there is no reason for them to be holding hands otherwise, but quickly realizes that he is fooling her again. She understands what he is trying to do, just as he asks if she wants to be in a relationship with her. It takes her a moment to realize that it is just another joke, but she still asks him if he is lying. She just gets more confused when Sawarita keeps saying that his lying is a lie and doesn't give her any clear answer. Sawarita is a few steps ahead of her as she looks around eagerly, commenting on how the cherry blossoms are already blooming. When Sawarita asks if she wants to watch the flowers, she looks around the park and notices how only couples are sitting there. He is not very bothered by this and sits beside her on the bench while she keeps thinking about how they also look like a couple. Just then, they hear a couple arguing about something and then on their respective way. Soon another one leaves the park, which makes the situation more awkward for both of them. Onizuka is well aware of the uneasy situation and keeps thinking about what she will do if she fights with Sawarita in the future. Just then, he starts chuckling and says how the couples who are close to each other fight like that. Onizuka stares at him confused, and suddenly the couple who were fighting comes, this time sweetly apologizing to each other. Onizuka stares at them holding hands and says to her friends how he is very stupid. Sawarita just simply replies that this doesn't mean that it is okay to insult your partner. They are walking back home when he tries to convey something to Onizuka, but is interrupted when she suddenly spots a familiar face there. She runs to the girl named Inumaru and asks her if she is dating Nakota because she saw them holding hands a few days ago. Sawarita is busy touching Inumaru's ears while she mumbled if they really saw them. Onizuka repeats her question, in reply to which Inumaru tells her to keep this a secret for now. Nervously scratching her head, she asks them if they are also in a relationship. Onizuka is confused about what to reply to her because Sawarita is her good friend and they share a different vibe. But that doesn't mean that they are in a relationship. It makes her wonder about what kind of feelings he has for her. Before she can come up with a proper answer, he responds that they are not dating because he still hasn't confessed his feelings to Onizuka. Both the girls blush deeply at his comment, while Onizuka is trying her best to process his words. Sawarita softly apologizes to her, saying how he was so embarrassed to say anything, but he feels sorry for leading her on like that. Inumaru apologizes for making the situation awkward like that, but they quickly assure her that she has nothing to do with this. Sawarita then turns toward Onizuka, intending to finally confess his feelings properly, but she stops him. He stares at her, confused, as she comments that he might have needed more time to prepare her feelings. She continues that some people might say that he is a coward for not confessing his feelings, but this is the reason she can't let him say anything in the heat of the moment. She is saying this because she is also a coward for not having the courage to confess her feelings. Inumaru is almost having a panic attack at their situation. Feeling like this is also like a confession, but they both don't seem to realize that. When they were children, despite Onizuka permitting him, Sawarita just gently touched her horns for a second, and she was relieved at his action. He keeps thinking about how it is great to touch weird species because they all have different textures, which makes him feel amazing. He is curious about how Onizuka feels when he touches her, but before he can question her about it, she asks permission to touch him. Sawarita mentions that she could touch him, though he doubts it would be enjoyable. Onizuka, annoyed by his comment, especially since he had said touching her was great, chooses not to argue. Instead, she quietly starts to touch his arm, surprised by how firm it is. He suddenly pulls his arm away from her, and when she asks why he did that, he replies that he just feels ticklish. He is surprised at how he didn't feel anything different from her touch. Just then, Onizuka pinches his forehead, laughing at how soft it is. This time he feels fluttery at her touch, and quickly pushes her hands away. This was when his feelings started to change for her for the first time. The next day, when they meet in the morning, they are both nervous to face each other and walk side by side without saying anything. Saorita breaks the silence as he excitedly asks her if she heard the news about an angel who has been stuck on a tree. She replies that she knows the caretaker saved it, and Saorita is happy with her answer since he was talking about the same thing. Onizuka is slightly irritated by his behavior because he is acting very normal after everything that happened the day before. She doesn't understand if he is really this unbothered or not. Oblivious to her thoughts, he keeps ranting about how it was very cute when the anteater spreads their arms to imitate the caretaker who saved it. Suddenly, a bicycle passes by them at a very fast speed and startles Onizuka, who almost jumps towards Saorita. The moment causes their hands to touch, and he quickly pulls away, assuring her that he is not trying to put any pressure on her. Onizuka just stares at his stature, finding him super adorable, especially when he stands there with his arms wide open. On the next school day, when they meet each other on the street, they pass by without saying anything to each other. Onizuka is worried about this strange arrangement and asks her friend for advice. One of her friends, Nico, points out how Saorita was always kind of strange, but she instead gets scolded by her friend. Onizuka mumbles that she is saying this because they are not talking to each other and something like this never happened before. She doesn't know what she will do if they continue to avoid each other and eventually lose all the contact. Her friend is about to say something when she notices Saorita walking by the class. Onizuka calls him and is extremely happy when he says that they should go home together. They both leave together while her friends are discussing their relationship and how shy they are. As they are walking back home, Saorita keeps yawning repeatedly. Onizuka asks if he hasn't slept well, to which he replies that he was studying for the test and lost track of time. When he is back at home, he is still finding it hard to fall asleep when suddenly he gets a video call from Onizuka. She looks happy that he can't fall asleep and is thinking about what happened when she shook hands with him. Before she can start any conversation, Saorita falls asleep without hanging up the call. Onizuka keeps staring at him until her own eyes start to close. When he wakes up the next morning, he notices that the call is still connected, and he can see Onizuka peacefully sleeping in her bed. She is startled when he suddenly wishes her a good morning, and she realizes that they have been on the call all night. The next day, they are going home together as usual when a girl named Kudan approaches them. She asks if they are going home together, to which Onizuka replies that this is how it always is. Kudan adds that in this case, it is obvious that they are already attracted to each other. Suddenly, she gets a vision of Onizuka tripping over a brick and tells her to be careful so she doesn't fall. Chuckling slightly, Onizuka replies that she doesn't think this is going to happen. Kudan seems to blurt out this suddenly because when she tells the future to someone, it changes a little, and she can just hope that something weird will not happen. Onizuka continues that she doesn't want to pick it up, and just then, Saorita steps on a can that rolls away and he starts falling. Kudan is worried that it happened because of her, but when she looks at them, she is surprised to see Onizuka holding her friend in her arms. Saorita is blushing at being picked up like this, but Onizuka doesn't seem fazed and just wants to make sure he is alright. Kudan is also feeling flustered, thinking about how Onizuka is like a Prince Charming. Another day, Onizuka is walking alone when she hears some girls talking about Kagino and Yoko breaking up. One of them says how it is surprising because they were very close. Her friend tells her that they broke up after Kudan told them something about the future. Later, Onizuka and Saorita go to meet with Kudan, who explains that when someone knows the events from the future, they can be more cautious about what to do, which is why the future can be changed slightly. This is why she always tries to be subtle when she tells someone about their future. Onizuka nervously asks what will happen with them, and Kudan repeats if she is worried that they will split up too. Onizuka almost starts crying just by imagining their future. Kudan instantly goes to comfort her friend and asks Saorita to help her too, but he refuses, saying that it is stupid to worry about some speculation. He adds that he is also concerned about his future, but it doesn't matter to him because he already knows what he will do with Onizuka. His friend blushes deeply at his words, while Kudan is sure that nothing is going to happen to them. When summer arrives, they both go to the beach together, and Saorita is really excited to go swimming. Onizuka gets nervous when she notices how everyone is wearing swimsuits without any worries. She is startled out of her thoughts when Saorita calls her and asks if she doesn't want to swim with him. Onizuka quickly replies that the weather is slightly cold today. Saorita is confused by her reply because it is a pretty hot day, but she ignores him and just suggests that they should play with the sand instead. Saorita suddenly asks if she hesitates because she is also wearing a revealing swimsuit underneath. Onizuka almost shouts at her friend that this is not the case. When Saorita speculates that it must be something bold with a tiger pattern on it, she gets irritated and peels off her shirt, revealing the cute swimsuit she is wearing underneath. They both are blushing slightly at the interaction as Saorita agrees that her swimsuit is cute. They spend their time swimming in the water and building a sand castle that attracts everyone's attention. Saorita keeps playing around with a huge smile on his face, which worries his friend slightly because he is not even focused on all the different species around. She asks him if he has got a heat stroke. When Saorita refuses, she again asks how he is acting so calmly when there are a lot of different species here, and he is not even eager to touch them. Saorita honestly replies that he is excited to see all the species around, but he doesn't want to touch anyone when he is not familiar with anyone. Even if he takes their permission before touching them, all the other people will think that he is very weird. This makes him realize how the people at his school are very cooperative, and Onizuka is surprised that this is the first time he has noticed that. She shyly asks what he will do if she permits him to touch her. Instead of replying to her, Saorita starts blushing, making Onizuka feel that he is thinking about something inappropriate, even when he tries to clarify that he just doesn't know what to say. When they go back to school, Onizuka's friends start calling her Black Oni because of how tan she is, but she asks them not to call her that again. Changing the topic, her friends ask who she went to the beach with and demand that she show them some pictures. They are not surprised to find out that she went there with Saorita and just ask her to invite them next time. Her friend then points out that Saorita must be bustling with excitement at the beach because there are people from different species on the beach. Onizuka tells them that he was excited but didn't do anything embarrassing. Her friends are impressed to hear that while she tells them how things are very expensive at the beach's hut, it still feels good to eat there. When they scroll to the next picture, her friends comment that she looks very cute, while she is embarrassed to show them that picture. Suddenly, one of her friends, Ushiyama, starts blushing heavily. When they ask her the reason, she answers that though they were surrounded by all the different species, Onizuka was the sole focus of Saorita's attention. She almost turns into a tomato at her words, gaining the title of Red Oni this time. In an open place, Saorita and Onizuka are teaching some kids to exercise. They are in a summer vacation's morning radio gymnastics, and every year the older ones here help the newbies. Onizuka is excited to be here, but she is annoyed at the sleepy Saorita. She scolds him for acting so lazy, worried that the children are going to copy his actions. He replies that he is just not too used to getting up so early. He still continues stretching with her, but it only manages to annoy her more because he keeps getting it directly wrong. Saorita says that he has picked up the right hand from the children's perspective, and they start arguing about which side is right. Just then, one of the students points that they are doing everything wrong. She then tells him to put a hand around her waist and then stretch her, as this is something that helps two people get closer. They blindly follow her instructions, and it takes them a while to notice that the kids are just teasing them. The next day, they finish their stretching sooner, and Saorita asks the kids to get their papers stamped. A young girl, Kuma, comes with her paper, and he praises her for attending all the sessions. Onizuka is watching them from the side and quickly comes in between them when Saorita raises his hand forward. He is confused at the sudden intrusion, and when Onizuka confronts him for wanting to touch the girl's ears, he quickly explains that he is just trying to pat her head. Onizuka turns around, saying that he can do that. She spits out her water when Kuma suddenly says that Saorita should give his friend a head pat too. She tries to warn the little girl, but Kuma ignores her and instead says to Saorita how Onizuka also didn't miss a session and even came on time every day. Saorita fulfills her request as he pats Onizuka's head and even gives her a stamp on his forehead, making all the children cheer happily. During the next stretching session, Onizuka can't help but wonder if Kuma is interested in Saorita, but realizes that at this age, she must be just looking up to someone older. She was also like this when she was young and admired someone older than her. This happened during their summer gymnastics session, and she can remember how that person always used to stand on the corner, but she can't recall his face. Instead, she remembers how Saorita was bad at waking up early at that time too. He will always be very sleepy in the morning and end up standing next to the seniors. She gently pokes him in the side, saying how he is still the same. He is still half asleep, so he doesn't understand her statement, and Onizuka is relieved that her friend hasn't changed at all. She realizes that ever since their childhood, she has always been attracted to Saorita. She wants to make everything clear soon and is planning to confess his feelings to her. This time, she is determined to do this as soon as the right time comes. At the beach, she couldn't do it because she was worried that their trip would be ruined. She wants to find a good place where she can confess her feelings to him. Thinking about it, she goes to the Yuki flower shop, where her friend Yuki asks if she is going to confess by giving him flowers. Onizuka replies that she is right since giving Saorita flowers practically means that she is permitting him to do anything. As they converse, the granny working at the shop prepares roses for another customer. Yuki says to her friend that she is just worrying about nothing and delaying everything for too long. She continues that it won't be so bad because both of them are thinking the same. Just then, Onizuka notices Saorita standing at the counter, telling the grandmother to pack his order quickly. Saorita also notices her there, surprised at the strange coincidence. Stuttering a little, Onizuka asks him why he is buying the flowers, but instead of replying, he asks her the same question. She hesitates to reply to him and starts to say that she wants to decorate her house with these flowers. Cutting off her own sentence, she tells him that she wants to give these flowers to someone and is hoping that they will go closer with this gift. Saorita honestly tells her that he wants to do the same thing even though he doesn't know if this is the right thing to do, but he really wants to confess his feelings. Onizuka can only mumble that she wants the same thing since her heart is beating very heavily in her chest. She is so nervous that she wishes him good luck for his mission. She suddenly shouts at him that she will take revenge and then runs out of the shop. Saorita stands there in shock, mumbling as if he has finally broken her because he kept her waiting and it looks like she is going to kill him. Yuki is watching their interaction silently and simply tells him to take good care of those flowers. The next day in class, Saorita keeps thinking about what Onizuka said to him and realizes that she was talking about confessing her feelings to him. Standing near him, the cat girl, Nakota, suddenly says how she once heard a really frightening story. The story was about a boy and girl who had been friends since childhood, and everyone around them was sure that they would date each other. Instead, that boy got together with another girl and couldn't decide between the two. Later, both the girls invited the boy separately, but when he went there, they were together. The girls slapped the boy and then dumped him on the spot. Later, the boy walked around with a swollen face. Nakota looks very happy while telling the story, while Saorita is in deep thought after hearing her, even though he doesn't think his meeting with other girls has any superior meaning. As he is walking down the corridor, he spots Onizuka standing with another girl. She gets very nervous after spotting him there and accidentally crushes the can she is holding. Saorita suddenly starts to shout that this is not what it looks like, while Onizuka has no idea what she is talking about. Even when she is attending her classes, Onizuka keeps thinking about what would be a good place to confess her feelings. The first option she thinks is at the back of the school building, but she feels like it would be very cliché and also the place wouldn't be empty. The next option she can think of is the rooftop because she thinks that confessing her feelings in an open space will make her remember it for the rest of her life. She remembers hearing that a relationship would work out if they confessed under the tree in the schoolyard. It might be because it is difficult to reject someone when you are visible to the whole school building, and she remembers seeing the girls confessing under the stairs. Onizuka realizes that she doesn't have to necessarily do it at school. Just then the bell rings, indicating that the school is over, and she is happy to realize how quickly time has passed when she was thinking about a place to confess her feelings. She is left alone in the class when Saorita comes there to call her to go back home. As they are walking in the corridor, Onizuka realizes that she can also confess in an empty classroom after school. She notices how her friend is acting strange and asks if he is thinking about someplace. Saorita seems nervous at her question as he quickly asks why he would think about a place. She replies that this is the place where they can discuss important matters. Saorita is almost starting to panic at her statement since he is only worrying about himself and waiting for Onizuka to talk to him. He expresses that if she is mad at him about something, she can take out all her anger on him, and he will accept everything without complaining. When Onizuka says that she is not mad at him for anything, Saorita figures out that it was all a misunderstanding and is relieved of the situation. He then says that if they need to discuss an important matter, she should give him a moment to prepare. Onizuka replies that they are alone here now, but she is not understanding what Saorita is trying to convey. Just then 2 students notice them standing there, and one of them, Hoshiyama, voices that they should go home if they are not doing anything important here. Her friend quickly whispers that they must be here to confess their feelings to each other. After knowing the truth, Hoshiyama wishes them good luck and then leaves with her friend while Onizuka is very embarrassed about the situation. Once they are alone, Sawarita comments on how uneasy the students are after knowing why they are standing here. Onizuka chuckles at his comment and then suggests that they should take a walk. As they face forward, Sawarita comments how Ushiyama looks good with that guy. Onizuka tells him that Ushiyama-san is interested in that person, but they have to keep it a secret for now. Suddenly, Sawarita grabs her hand, ensuring she is okay with his actions. They first check the rooftop, but to this disappointment, the door is locked and even the place under the staircase is not empty. Onizuka says that there are a lot of students here even after school, to which she replies that they must be here for club activities and meetings. They next check the back of the school, but it is also packed with students. Onizuka expresses that they should go out of school, but Sawarita refuses, saying that there is still a spot they need to check. She starts to panic when she realizes that he is talking about the tree because the few people who could confess there are super confident. Sawarita mentions how he heard that everything goes well if they confess under a tree. Onizuka thinks that it only happens because it is hard to reject someone every person is watching, and after that, everyone will support them, which makes everything more complicated. He suddenly asks her if she doesn't want things to work well, but before she can reply, some students passing by question why they are standing there. She quickly starts pushing him away from there, but the students are already talking about their possible relationship. Onizuka mumbles how there isn't any proper place to confess here, while her friends are surprised that they still aren't in a relationship. They are still holding hands as they walk back, and Onizuka points out how Sawarita hasn't touched any girls from different species lately. She is worried that she might be forcing him to act this way. Sawarita assures her that she is not forcing him, and confesses how he really wanted to touch Kudan-san's horns, but she didn't let him. Onizuka is relieved to know that her friend is still the same. Sawarita suddenly confesses how he would hate it if someone tried to touch her horns, which is why he always sticks close to her and comes back instantly when he has to go somewhere. In the next moment, he tells her to forget about it, feeling very embarrassed to say those things, but Onizuka just politely tells him to not leave her. Unintentionally, they come back to the same empty classroom, and Sawarita declares that they will talk here. He starts by saying how when they met for the first time, the only thing he could focus on was her horns. Eventually, he notices the real Onizuka under those horns. She is amused at his way of noticing things and says how everything has changed now because he doesn't touch her horns anymore. Sawarita continues that he has eyes on her all this time, and even though at the start he was intrigued by her horns, he couldn't touch them anymore. He always felt like if he tried to touch them, the things between them would change. Onizuka gently replies that nothing will change between them because she already knows all the good and bad things about him. Sawarita finally expresses those magical words, confessing how he always has feelings for her. He asks her to be with him forever, and Onizuka agrees without any hesitation. Later that night, they are walking back home when Sawarita suddenly says that he has been patient all this time, but now he really wants to touch her horns. Onizuka quickly moves away, realizing that he is still very intrigued by her horns. He figures that he will not do anything as she is still sensitive about it. Onizuka replies that she is not sensitive about it anymore since they are just horns so he can touch them, but she is really impressed by how he asked for her consent first. She continues that he doesn't have any hidden agenda about it and is just a stupid boy who is really obsessed with these things. Sawarita finally fulfills his wish as he carefully touches her horns, surprised at how soft they are, and he can even feel her body temperature through them. By touching them, all the memories from his childhood about the smell of plants in the forest and the warm feeling of Onizuka's house come back to him. He wants to keep touching her horns and raises his hand to touch the other one, but just then he notices the deep blush on his friend's face. Onizuka quickly turns away from him, feeling like this situation is more flustering than a kiss. A few days later, as they walk to school, Sawarita points to a girl named Jinchaka-san and remarks that he always thought her hair was just dreadlocks, but now he realizes they're actually tentacles. He looks at his girlfriend expectantly, but to his surprise, Onizuka calmly says he no longer needs to worry about her feelings when it comes to interacting with other species. She explains that, although she was a little jealous before, she has nothing to worry about now because they're already together. Sitting on a low wall nearby, she adds that she's not going to stop him from exploring his curiosity. With her reassurance, Sawarita excitedly approaches the group of girls, while Onizuka watches, thinking to herself that no matter what, he'll always come back to her. As she sees him happily talking with the different species, she realizes just how much she cares for him. When he returns, looking content, her expression shifts, and she playfully complains that he took too long. Without warning, Saureda gently pushes her against the wall, placing his hands on her horns, saying how she is the best one.
Here I am, know it's been